Let's, okay, how about look at 6 here? Sentence. Detail about words about expectation, rejection, and manipulation.
Expectation, I feel like.
Anything wrong with expectation?
Yeah, like if you have too much expectations for like if you have expectations, you can be let down, and I can be left like I don't know, like you live a life with no fulfillment, or sometimes like you have like these weird desires, and like you don't appreciate it you have sometimes if you're we've already done.
Okay, so what is the difference between expectation and the goal? What is the difference?
Expectations, like you feel like that's like what you deserve, like mentally, like you feel like you are deserving of whatever, and the goal is like you personally reach that, you work hard to reach the goal. Expectations, like I deserve this.
So, last time we talked about the goal, right? I give you that example. When you drive a car from your house to the school, the house is the departure, school is the goal, yeah, right? Okay, right. But while you driving, you expect to be there, to be here early, on time, and so forth. It stresses you out. That's the difference. When you take a test, when you go to the interview, you have job interview before, right? Most of you, right? But if you don't recognize the difference between these two, most of the time before this talk, right? Expectation. Oh, I expect to get that job and so forth. But what happened? They pick up the other guy.
It's like depression and like stress.
That's the point. That's the point. Just have to go with the flow. Just accept whatever can happen. Just try this. All right. We have Emily here. Oh yeah, you'd like to say something about projection or manipulation?
I just think they're both not ideal because it messes up your mind. Like if you're angry and you project anger onto other people, you're giving away back karma, and it's not ideal for you and for the other person. And then manipulation also is not healthy for your mind.
Why is this not healthy?
You manipulate other people because it's
13.
it's the wrong thing to do, just morally.
Okay.
To manipulate
Like
them.
kind of meant like what reality is and manipulation. You manipulate someone, they like majority of the time don't know they're being manipulated, so their idea of truth is not real. Like
So what happened when this has happened in our daily life too? This happened to us, it happened to other people. Sometimes, right, we expect other people, let's say our friends, they don't have families, right? You have expect your spouse to be this and that, and sometimes if they don't do what you want to, you project yourself onto their mind that you want them, or you somehow manipulate them to do something that you want to. And of course, in our people, there's that too. So that's why there's also suffering. So that's why. Right. Let's, how about this one? About Chandra? All right. On rejection of life, fight of life. What happened here? You have here? What do you say?
So I wrote about the fighting or flight, and what I read about the sympathetic nervous system is actually what triggers your fight or flight mode, which basically means that it's like a way of dealing with stress, where it puts you in like an aggressive mood to get things done, which is good, but the balance of it is your parasympathetic nervous system, which goes into effect to bring you back down to normal levels. But you get really stressed out when your sympathetic system is working overtime. and the other system doesn't have enough time to bring it down. So the views on fighting your flight is that you need enough time to, like meditation or other practices, you need time to decompress or.
Yes.
I wrote about this one too.
You?
Yeah, but, well, no, my name's on there because I was sick, but I wrote
Sure.
that one while I was not giving you all the flu. I read that the intention of goodwill opposes the intention of ill will. That's what I had read
Oh, okay.
in Buddhism.
Yeah, we talk about that when we go to.
But about rejection.
Yeah, good intention, right intention. But here's the point. Rejection. Well, okay, now let's say, okay, this is two poles. Is that right? You see that? Can you see in the back there? These are two poles that we stop there. Either attachment or rejection. Whichever it is. Whether we deal with relationship, whether we deal with our job, whether we deal with our education, and so forth. Please pass the people around.
18.
18. So that's the two poles that we swim between like or dislike, attachment, and rejection. What happens with rejection? Like, oh, you don't like certain people. Like, you don't like certain people, for example. Let's say in the relationship you don't like certain people, you reject and you stay away and so forth. Is that okay? What do you think with this rejection? Yeah.
It causes further damage to separate yourself completely from others. Just, personal experience, I think it is not a good idea.
Okay, so that's the two poles. The number maybe?
31.
21. 21.
31.
Okay, so we know that's just a two pole. That's why if you observe yourself, if you see your life, most of the time we are in these two poles, right? It's not easy to stay in the middle. Is that right? Not easy. We know that. That's what we call prejudice here and attachment here. Either way, the food, the drink, whichever we deal with, it's not easy. That's why our minds always go up and down. Our minds always frustrated. That's why we could not be happy. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to be content whichever we have. Because we swim back and forth between these two poles. And that pendulum, right? I have met many couples. Yes, they spend many years and have had good time with each other. But what happened when they brought them to the court and they become enemy? You know, right? And if you're young, you'll be repaired. Right, so, okay, so that's the two poles that we just went back and forth. Let's move on. How about anger? Tan, what do you say? Anger. How can you deal with your anger?
How personally I deal with anger?
It's up to you. Yeah, personally.
Well,
Yeah.
personally, when I get angry, if it was in front of people, I get angry in front of people. I normally just hold it back. I just hold my anger in. Try not to let it out. Just do bad things. Sometimes you say things that when you're angry, you're not supposed to say. So I normally hold it in, and then later that day, I just try to release it out to another, away from someone else. So,
How do you release energy?
I normally would just do what I love to do, like I normally go out and play soccer, just to release that energy out. And, or if I'm at work and I'm really mad, then I would go in the back room and punch them
That's
like
good.
a cardboard box or something.
That's good exercise. Be careful. That's the training too, right? So be careful. If you we talk about the last one before number 2. That is the A4 part. That's what we mentioned today. It's not easy. But before that, let me go back to here, to what we just say, right? Define, implied, respond. Yeah. We know that, right? It affects our health. We fight, either we fight, we try to fight things, or we run away. So, especially in this country, this is capitalist country, who are in business major. No? The business major here? Or in any circumstances, any situation, at home, at work, at school, and so forth, there's some kind of violence, right? Some kind of conflict. Is that right? It's not easy. So how could you deal with them? You know, right? This is affect you if we have that's mentality, right? It affects you all our entities, our body, our mind, our mentality, and so forth. We are in psychology major, you know, right? So you specialize in anything?
What?
You specialize in any field in psychology?
Yeah, right now I'm a behavioral therapist.
Okay. So you know more, right? So that's why whenever we have this mood, that's what stress comes from. So let's say if you receive the test back from your professor and you feel that it's unfair for your grade, would you fight?
Yes.
Would you fight? I'm talking that after you receive the test back from your professor and you thought that it's unfair for your grade, would you fight?
Not physically, but.
Of course.
I mean, I wouldn't take it if I felt like I deserved better. I would challenge it.
Okay, challenges, okay. But let's say, yes, you have a lot of stresses to deal with him, right? Him or her. So you take that challenge. Okay. All right. So depend on how you deal with the situation at work too. What happens if you feel that your supervisor, your manager treat you unfairly? If they just raise the salary for your coworker, not you. You fight? Okay. Okay. So anyway, so depend on how you see feel. And we'll come back to talk about a full part. Do we need to fight or not? Right? Okay. Remember? Yeah, but remember, whenever you fight, whether it's physical fight or mental fight and so forth, you have that kind of stress. Okay. So how about okay, how could you deal how could you deal with your stress, your anger? Julian? Well, you have about one, right? Anyone? How could you deal with your anger? Like he said, he may punch whichever. I'm sorry.
Like personally or like in a
Personally, usually, how could you deal with your anger?
Usually what I do is I like talk to myself and I curse a lot.
What's that?
I usually talk to myself and curse a lot about, like what's going on and why it's a ridiculous idea that I'm so mad. And then I'll just tell myself that life's too short to be so angry all the time. And so I just kind of distract myself from what I'm being angry at, and then I'll gear it towards sometimes I'll go to the gym and then I'll work out just to release all that anger, or I'll maybe like watch happy videos or movies on Netflix just to kind of separate myself from what I'm angry towards, and then I'll calm myself down.
Have you tried chocolate?
I
Yes.
really like chocolate.
Oh, that's why.
Whenever people would make me angry, I would never use physical violence, but I would like insult them in passive aggressive ways and cursing at them. But sometimes yelling and cursing would actually just make me angrier.
Yeah.
But I find that it doesn't make me angry if I'm just like really passive aggressive. That kind of like, I like to be passive aggressive towards people I like.
So since people have many ways how to deal with anger. Krista here? So we know anger cannot solve any, have been angry cannot solve anything. Most of the time, right, when we are in that situation, right, when you're so angry, we think that we say, whichever we say, whichever we do, we say this is proper, that's right, but after that it's wrong, most of the times, right, so there's two things. Look at here, up to here, attachment here, rejection, what you call love, attachment, right? Love blinds us, right? You heard about that?
Yeah.
Is that right? How about anger too? This blinds us too, right? Sometimes we're so angry that we act out, we say something that we regret. We cannot get back that. Right? So that's why we know that. All right, Jessica here. What do you say about challenges or this question? Let's say you don't get the rate that you deserve to or you expect to, the law or the care that order or so forth. Well, how could you deal with them?
I guess I try to be a little bit more positive, maybe optimistic, and learn how to study harder.
Okay. How about if you feel that someone, whoever, doesn't care you too much, what should you do?
Maybe try talking to them, understanding why they feel that way.
All right. So, Regan, you here? Or no? Ami, is here? Are you? Oh. So, how do you deal with all kinds of this question? Yeah, it depends how you deal with them. Anything in the relationship, at work, at school, and so forth. How do you deal with them?
I would like use reflection, like thinking back on like what was really a dissatisfaction, whether it was something that could be controlled or not, and just not focusing on things that I can control.
Okay, that's good. How about in psychology, right? If you learn in psychology, they used to say that, okay, now, especially for the one who has a problem with depression, right? Negative. And in Western psychology, most of the time, you encourage people to think positively, right? But easy? Yes?
So sometimes when my kids fight with each other, what I like to do is I say, all right, I do a breathing exercise with them and make them all stop what they're doing and take a deep breath in, or I release it out like 4 times, and then I ask like each of them, are you going to remember this in a week? And if it's not something that they're going to remember in a week, and then I tell them let it go and then go do something else. And so then that like they always just like go about their way and it's fine. Like I've never had a problem.
That's good.
Just kind of like.
Great. So thank you. So I'd like to say this. This is especially for people. It's not easy to get out of depression, right? So that's why in psychology, right, encourage you or other people to think positively. But remember, the more you think positively, what happens? The more you have tendency to go back. It's like the swing, like the pendulum. It swings back and forth. That's why later on, when we talk about meditation, just remain here. Just try to be observant. We talk more about that. Just try to accept that. It's much better. You don't need to fight. It's not easy. But you can train your mind. All right? And so, okay, let's move on to this topic today. So this, you can say that up to the third number 2, and we go down to the next one. Yes, when we're angry, right? 2 terms. This attachment. This attachment we have, and Yeah, when we talk, it's like the fire go out our mouth, right? Road rage, and this. Okay. Yeah, definitely effect of anger on our health. You know that. And with the heart attack, sometimes people so angry that they pass away because of heart attack and so forth. It's easy to rape disease and so forth. You know that. Now the last one, the end of suffering is so important. Here, greed, anger arise into unhappiness. That's what the Buddha say. The three things: anger, craving, and speeding as the poisons. When we're angry, it's like we hold the poisons, or we hold the fire on our palms, right? And even the craving too. And in opposite to that, we need to transform according to the teachings here. The last one here, what they call the Eightfold Path. Over here. You see that here? The middle is suffering, creative suffering, accusation, and this is the last one, the Eightfold Path. That's why when you see, okay, here. This one here. Now, this is as a circle of life. That's why the Buddha, after his enlightenment, he recognized us. He provides this kind of path, understand, thought, and so forth. That's what we're talking today. Okay? This is here. It's so important. This is two. So, in this, what they call the Eightfold Paths, the Buddha provide the two three categories. The first one is wisdom, next one is ethics, and the last one is samadhi. Now here, listen. Usually we know, right, in all traditions, or even at home, wherever, talk about morality, yeah, we need to talk in the right way. Right? We have to have the right action and so forth. Is that easy? Especially when someone irritates you, it's easy to control your speech, control action. It's not easy. Or even like I told you, when you're speaking unfair, whether to your profession, your boss, or whoever you want to fight, and at that moment you may forget everything. Is that right? So that's why it's not easy. That's why this one keep in. Right effort, right mindfulness and concentration. Keep your mind full. Especially in the future, if you are leaders or communities, society, even you run your own business, or if you are professional and so forth, you need to have this kind of calmness. Otherwise, people would manipulate you, right? All right, let's move on to the first one. Why is the wisdom group, right view, and right intention so important? Okay, let's discuss here. Okay, Blake, is it you? Okay, so what is the right understand of life? First of all, what we talk about, what's the difference between right and wrong? Why we talk about right? And what's wrong? What is wrong? Well, what is the difference? Why we have to define the difference between right and wrong? How could you define what's right, what's wrong?
39, I think.
So,
yeah.
So how could you define what's right, what's wrong? What do you think? How could you define that? First, that I think is we need to define first before we go into discussion things. How? What's right, what's wrong?
Like in general.
General? What else? What else?
Like, it's usually right answer for anyone.
Okay.
When I know this person, it's just.
Okay. What else? What else?
Usually defined by like the society, so it's like your societal standard, that there's generally a humane way to treat people and an inhumane way to treat people. And they, according to those and their societal view, you base your laws or foundations of how you treat one another, and then you know if you're right and you're wrong.
Universal acceptance, right? Universal rules. right? That's everyone recognize, right? As human. But if you live in Amazon, it's very different. In the forest, it's different from in modern society. It depends. It depends on how we have this certain type of standard that we need to follow. People expect us to follow. So yeah, it's general rules or universal rule, right and wrong. Like you say, if we do things that don't harm ourselves and others, that's right. Is that right? And in the opposite way, yes, if we do something that harm ourselves and harm others, that's what this is talk about. Okay. So all right, let's move on. First one, understand and apply. Yes, go ahead, please.
So Buddhists gets the right understanding of life once they really learn and accept the Four Noble Truths.
Okay.
And I mean, it means that they realize that all of your actions have consequences and that it is important to make the right choice rather than the wrong choice, because no matter what choice it is, it's going to have either positive or negative consequences.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, thank you. You here? Yes, can you say some more? What's mean right, understand, and apply?
So it's basically understanding everything completely, like in its entirety, rather than just like partly. Like by understanding everything, kind of eliminates ignorance, which was one of the causes of suffering.
Where's the paper? Oh, you got done? Yeah, can pass it off, please? Yeah. I'm sorry. That's all? You here? Alright. Okay. Again, who can give, who can share? What's been the right understand apply? What do you think? Anyone of you? Anything you need to share? Okay, let me open this here. Okay, here. So you see the same chart here. Here, that's what, can you see? That's what driving study is about. This is always comes forward here. Too small, can you see? Too small? That's okay? Okay? Can you see the back there? Oh, here, he's right in this thing. Is that right? Sorry, this is... Here, right. Wise or right view, understand the what? Again, when you say in Buddhist view, yes, you have to understand all the Four Noble Truths, but in other side too, what we call the three characteristics assistant. The first one is anicca, that's mean impermanence of things. Why? Why you have to understand, have to recognize impermanence of life? Why? It happened. It happened everywhere. It's happened to your body, to our body and our mind. It happened everywhere. One woman, our parents, our best friends, hang around with us, another woman, we become our enemy. Is that right? It's happened to your life, and it's up and down. Everything is up and down in the cycle. So nothing lasts forever. So that's why, if we understand that, it's easy to accept. Otherwise, it's not easy. Especially when our loved one passes away. I have met so many people because I've done funeral service so many times. This is not easy to handle. It is that we lost forever. You can say that. conventionally, when we lost our family members, we lost, our laptop, whichever, right? It's not easy. So that's why we need to accept that. And of course, the suffering, we talk about that, right? That's normal. That's one part of life. So again, physically we cannot change anything, but mentally we can. No matter who we are, whether we're male, female, or young or old, and so forth, we have the ability to change from a suffering to the happiness pain, but it can be changed. Now, this one, I want to talk briefly about this. Not the soul. I got some good writing about this. Later on we talk more. Why in Buddhism we say that we don't accept this real, did we talk about that? The real soul? The permanent soul, why? So what happened to us after we pass away? With this soul, with what we call about consciousness, remember last time? So instead of the soul, the permanent soul in Buddhism, we recognize there's a stream of consciousness that we ourselves, remember we talk about the seven consciousness, it takes us as that the real one. Whichever thing that belongs to us, whichever we like, we serve in the eight consciousness, remember I told you? So that is similar to the soul, but somehow in Buddhism, it can be changed. So what's left? So how could we, if we don't have this permanent soul, or even permanent consciousness, so who we are then? Who? You done? Yes. So who we are then? How can you explain that? So again, in Buddhist view, it is a stream of consciousness. That's why we accumulate things until now here. Let me try one more time for you. So remember last time. Okay, let me see. Remember the six consciousness. This is like the house, right? Like the window and the door of the house, right? Remember? Right? And the seven consciousness, the sixth consciousness is the one that controls everything in the house, control our sense and so forth. The seventh one and the eighth one. So, whichever information here, the sixth consciousness discriminate, analyze, and if it's light or dislike, that's the seventh one. This is mine. This is my book and so forth. So it brings to store the consciousness, to the eight consciousness. And before we pass away, before we move on, this is the last consciousness that move on to the next one. And that's what they call the stream consciousness. That's for everything, or energy, that's for everything inside there. That's why it defines who we are when we're born here, again and again. And so that's why it is no problem, because our karma can be changed, depending upon the situation, depending upon the condition, and so forth. So that's what the Buddha mentioned is, you need to recognize this. Right, understand about this what you call this. So yes?
So the more I read about the concept of not having a soul and the Anatman, it doesn't seem to really literally translate, because in Christianity, or the way I was raised within the church, is that no, there is not a permanence within yourself. But the concept of having a soul is the same concept of having the consciousness that you're speaking about.
Okay.
And so it's very contradictory to read, yes, there is a permanent consciousness, and no, there's not a soul. Because it's very contradictory.
Here, that's why. Remember, I told you.
But that's what I'm saying, like, I think that the term that they're using to compare to the word soul is not a good translation.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I told you it's not the soul, but the stream of consciousness or the storage of consciousness or energy that we carry on from one lifetime to others.
Right, because the word that is the original word that they're referencing to, which is Atman, the original word means self, which also means body. So that's what I feel like he was saying, no, your body will not go on. No, you as yourself will not forever exist. You as what you know as yourself right now will not forever exist. Your energy within yourself, which within Christianity we are taught is your soul, your inner energy. That does have a place.
Okay, there's some similarities and some differences too. Again, yes, for our body, right, physically, we born because of the union of our parents, and we still alive because of food and drink, and shelter and so forth, right? And we live, you know, 100 years so far, and we go. But again, physically, we would not be here forever. But for the energy here, what we call here, the consciousness here, that's why it can be changed. It's not permanent. Our body,
Right.
our habits, our thinking can be changed too. Can be taught, can be changed. That's why whichever it is we store here, it can be changed, whether in the positive way or the negative way. Right? So that's why here, the first one is you need to have that type of right understanding of life. Okay? So let's move on to number 2. All right, right intention. Jesus, will you say something? Yes? What is right intention then?
Intention is from what the book said, like, I use an example of like if a woman steps on a bug without knowing she stepped on a bug, she's still kind of like, I guess, saved from being condemned. I mean, whatever condemned is. And if she did it, like, I guess, purposely, then that would be like a violation of bad, or like a one-way ticket to bad karma, I guess.
It's straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of,
Yeah. Julia, you want to say something?
Pretty much the same thing, like when you think about doing something wrong or harmful to somebody else, that's different than just doing it without knowing or not preparing yourself to do that.
Let's say when you have some conversation with your friends, sometimes because you're joking and you say something that may hurt your friends and whoever. Is that intention there? Is that karma there? What do you think?
No.
No karma?
It still hurts. So.
It still hurts. And they say they will not talk to you anymore.
I mean, it depends on your intention. If you didn't mean to hurt somebody and then you realize you hurt them and you apologize, I
But
feel
it
like
doesn't
that's
take away the
different
pain.
from like trying to get under their skin and trying to get at them per se.
And then that's where it said that the book kind of like said that some certain monks were like against killing animals, but then other ones were with it because they said as long as you didn't kill it or it wasn't killed for you, you should be alright. But other guys are like, well, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Later on we talk about what you call the Theravada tradition in Thai. That's a bit different. For the Thai monks, they still consume meat. And hopefully we make arrangement for you guys to visit the temple.
Where would you stand on that?
Excuse me?
Where would you stand on that? Would you say like?
Are you vegetarian or is it okay?
Yeah, definitely. No way probably up to now.
Chickens are your friends.
No way, even now, you know, sometimes I have to go to the lay people's house. Sorry to say that I could not do it because it's all kind of smell from kitchen. I couldn't stand. You understand that? Like fish, whichever. I've lived in the temple for many years. I get used to that smell, and of course, it's not easy for me to accept that. That's why somehow when you build up with that habitual pattern, you stay away from that kind of karma. But when you can consume things, right, chicken and pig and so forth, it's easy for you to kill. It's because you think that, oh, that's the meat and so forth. Well, that's why, you know, during our Vietnamese New Year's celebration, I remind the young people, yeah, you love your pet, but please don't go to KFC.
So you ever miss meat? Like you ever crave meat?
Meat? No, never.
Did your mom cook any meat for you when you were a kid? Or
Definitely. Yeah, when I was young, yeah. When I was layman in Vietnam, yeah, I consume all kind of meat.
You eat eggs or fish?
Yeah, but
oh, well, that's better than like no animal products.
No, she's saying, do you now eat eggs or fish?
Not even eggs or fish. Some people will
So
say that
you're,
it's
so you're vegan?
Well, at the temple we don't have any kind of animal products. Yeah.
I still think eggs and fish are kind of like meat, but some people say
Yeah, for you it's no
vegetarians can eat them.
It's up to you. But for us, it's better to stay away from boring their life will drag away. Yeah. All right. So let's again. Why you want to say something about orientation?
And it's just like I read that there was like 3 different types of like right intention to count the wrongful intention.
Okay.
It's like there's the one of it is the intention of like renunciation or
Oh, we talked about that. All right. Yeah. That was go ahead.
yeah, so the right of renunciation, that's so that counters like attachment. You renounce what you own or like what you're attached to. And then the second one is the goodwill. So that you care for people and you do the right thing. And then the third one is harmlessness, to counter harm. So you have no ill will against people.
Tiffany, you want to say some more?
I
You want to say something?
kind of like right intention, like if you have like a good mind and like a pure heart, then you'll have right intentions, because like our intentions are our thoughts, and our thoughts will become our actions, our actions will become our karma. So that's like right intention.
You have the little children, right? Here it's not too cold, but let's say your children, they touch the fireplace or the heater. Would you yell to them so that they would not be burned? If you yell to them?
Yeah.
If you yell to them, is that good intention or wrong intention?
Yeah, they're like, you know, it's good intention because you don't want them to have further suffering.
But you yell to them.
But there's a difference.
What's the difference?
The difference is your intention. The difference is that you're trying to protect them.
That's good. I used to tell a story that because I have a temple in southern New Jersey, you know, Atlantic City. Have you been Atlantic City? Not yet. That's what before they call it's second Las Vegas. There's a casino industry over there. And I met one German. He said, you know, I treat people nicely. When they go to casino, whoever come, I treat them nicely. I care for them so that they play with me, so that I can beat them. In the Monterey way. You understand that?
Yeah. So regarding karma,
Yes?
I was just gonna say regarding karma, I know people who like, they like put people down a lot and they're really mean all the time and their lives seem great. So sometimes it seems like, you know, they say what goes around comes around, doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah, that's the point. Even me too. When I was young, of course, it's immature one. So sometimes I like to play around and make people be angry and so forth. At that time, we didn't know. I didn't know that. But of course now, right, we know. Whichever thing we say, It's affect to other people. That's what the next one we talk about speech here.
I had known someone who like literally would go out of their way to like verbally insult everyone around them, and she doesn't seem to care. Her mind seems pretty good. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
I was just going to emphasize on that, you know, it's easy to look at somebody and see that they're mean, but you don't know what their mental state is, right? Like, mentally they might be suffering and be extremely unhappy just because they're physically not suffering, or they might appear to have, you know, what everybody would consider good.
Desirable.
Or, yeah, desirable, it doesn't mean that they have it. They might mentally be, you know, the most horribly miserable person that you've ever met, which is typically the case when people are so aggressive and putting people down.
A lot of people put up a wall to like everyone else to make it look like, you know,
It's just a
everything's great.
facade.
And now, in this country, we have to face with the president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
The way he used Twitter, right? He insulted most of people. So I don't know how could he end up there.
In psychology, it's called like an egocentric mask, and he's like a hero or a tyrant, where he needs to put other people down.
So whichever news is passed for him, he says fake. But if it's whichever news is good, that's wonderful. It's terrific. That's one thing behind the other way. So that's one side view of you. And here, can you see this? The wise intention is so important, like one you mentioned, right? Not act out, repress, purpose, resolve, aspiration, and so forth. Renunciation, we will talk about that. Loving kindness, goodwill, and so forth, compassion. That's intention. Like you mentioned, give one example. You yell to your children, not because you're angry, but you want them to stay away from that heater, that fireplace. What happens when you yell to your parents, but they don't know that's your good intention?
You explain yourself quickly.
What's that? Let's say you go to party with your friends, right? If they drink too much, and you yell to them so that they can wake up and go home with you. But they think that you mean what you think, and later on they may break up with you. You accept that? Yeah. Okay. So it's important. It's the intention, not the act, not the way we say, not the way we act, but the mind, the mindset. This make everything. And yes, loving kindness. What happened? Okay, patience, generosity, patience, renunciation here, free from lust, from ill will, from cruelty, and so forth. So these are the wise intention, right intention here. It's so important. If we set our mind in the right way, in the proper way, whichever thing we do will be proper. That's why the next one is that speech. That's what we talk about too. Because the mind controls the speech and action, not vice versa. So let's move on. Jessica, you want to say? Go ahead.
What I got off of it is that for right of speech, we are meant to speak truthfully and not cause harm to other people.
What happened? Why lie? What do you think? Why lie? No. Why lie?
Why lie?
I think lying stems from fear, like fear
Yes.
of not being accepted, fear of not saying the right thing, fear of, you know.
Good enough?
Yeah, I mean, so people fabricate things in order to maybe appear better to other people, or appear like you know, or appear like you have things, or go to jail, or get in trouble.
Yeah. I don't know whether you, probably you may not know this story, this real story. There's a lady, there's a girl, actually. Somehow, she skipped her high school, and somehow she make up the fake certificate to her parents, because her parents couldn't speak much English. And of course, she could not get into college, but she pretended to be college student. and she make up everything. Of course, because her parents' expectation that she needs to go to school to be this and that. I don't know whether you know this story or not. So later on, what happened is to the point that she could not keep her secret anymore, and she killed her parents. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
You know that story?
What was it on forensic?
Not that episode.
So it's
I'm sure, yeah, I seen it.
Yeah. You know that story, right?
They were very religious, huh? Yeah, I seen that.
Oh, I know which one you're talking. Yeah, that's where I thought that one he was talking about. Yeah, there's one where the same line, of lying to the parents about the education, and then she ended up taking her own life.
Oh, that's better.
So that's that's right. So yes, most of the time that's why you say we concern that losing face, right? Our identity or whichever. We say something when it comes to fabricate story about our grade, our GPA, is that right? Our jobs, our friends, and so forth, especially the relationship too, right? And I don't know, I read some stories that in China, in Vietnam, they have what male or female for rent, for hire, because you know, in the Asian tradition, especially during the New Year, if you mature, if let's say if you are about 20, they expect you to have girlfriends, boyfriends. If you come home alone, you may be criticized. That's why somehow you can say they hide the female or male as your friends. So that's why I don't know whether it's, I think you may not have that problem here, right? So anyway, what happened with wildlife? If we say so many times with wildlife, what happened then? It becomes habitual patterns.
You can lie so much, you start to believe it.
Yeah, that happens too.
No, that's why. That's why it's not easy. It's not, so it's better. Of course, it's better to be truthful, but sometimes we want to hide something that we want people to know, right? Okay. This is you, right?
Yeah, that's me. The only thing that I would add is just, Buddhists believe in thinking before speaking, and it's a cycle. You think before you speak, and you think while you're speaking, and then you think after you speak, and you're just constantly reflecting upon. And then I also read that there's the morality is one of the legs to Buddhism, and the other one is meditation. So without the right speech, the right actions, the right livelihood, you cannot move on to the meditation leg, because you can't, if you're not in the right frame of mind, you can't essentially stand on the pillar of Buddhism.
Actually, 8 of them work together.
Yeah.
They support each other, they complement each other. Without the right mind, right setting, right intention, right knowledge of life, you could not control your speech easily. Right? Let's say without intention that you want to care for your children, want to care for others. You may say something, they will say, who cares? I just say whichever I want to. I don't care about other people feeling. You see, but if you have a right intention, I know, if I say something is hurtful for others, I would restrain my speech.
Yeah.
So let's just start from the mind. Right? And we know everyone wants to be happy. No one wants to be suffer. That's why. And of course, what we sow, what we get. Right? So that's why it's very spiritual, so important here. It's from untruthfulness, gossiping. What's wrong with gossiping? Yeah, it's hard. When you say something about the way they look, the way they wear, and so forth, right? Harsh speech, anger. When we're angry, how can we control ourselves with this one?
When you're angry, don't say what you're thinking because you're blinded by your anger. Don't say anything.
It's most of the time, if you couldn't control your anger, it's better to step away, to go somewhere else, to release that negative energy. And you can leave too. Whenever, as a monk, I still have that anger. So most time either I calm down my mind or I decide in Buddhist view, in Buddhist practice, we call compassion mantra. I don't know whether you know Judah B. You know that? Okay, that I decide almost every day. Even before to teach early in the morning, 21 times. This is my spiritual practice. It's calm my mind too. Yes.
What happens if you can't remove yourself from the situation?
What's that?
What happens if you can't remove yourself from the situation?
You cannot step away from that situation. So it depends. There's many ways. Depend. I don't know. Sometimes it's not easy. Yes.
I think too, like that whole column, the gossip, slander, harsh, angry, all those things. I think also it helps to realize that most of the time, it's really not. When people project those things, it's not really about you. It's about them. And like it kind of goes back to what she was saying earlier. Like they're hurting in such a way that they have to say something to project it onto you, so that way they feel better. It's like that whole vicious cycle. And I know, at least when I took psychology for my first degree, that was a big thing about the projection and realizing that it's not, the person being projected upon most of the time, it's not really like yours to take personal. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not really yours to own because they spew it out at you. You don't have to eat it because they give it to you.
The class that I took, they actually called that the emotional backpack. Are you going to pick up the backpack? Because they're already wearing it.
Yeah.
They're
You
trying
don't
to hand
have to
over
grab
you.
the baton.
Let's say at work, right? Now, let's say your supervisor or manager assign you to do something, but you made mistake because of that, and they yell at you angrily. So what's the problem here? The problem is because they yell at you personally, or because of the jobs, or the things that you made mistake. The jobs, not you. That's why you need to separate yourself from the.
It's shutting down, like,
No, not shutting down.
you know what I'm saying, like it's shutting down.
Yeah.
If someone does that, it's shutting down, like also an option. Like if you're yelling at me, I completely just, you're just gone.
So you have to compartmentalize yourself and make her better at that. Like, so having been in the army, I got yelled at a lot
Yeah, me
for like
too.
9 years.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it's just, it's not, it's part of the culture, it's part of the indoctrination, and at some point you realize how, like, one of the coping mechanisms is kind of what men do, which is why men are really successful in the army, is you have to compartmentalize, and instead of, like, women, we have the whole mesh, everything is connected, and so if you can just create those mental boxes of, like, I hear what you're saying, you know, but it's not personal, and so then you can do the Roger, I got it, I'll correct it, and then you just move on.
That's
Like,
kind of what I picked up when I was in the military. I was just like, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am. Like, but whatever you're saying is literally going in one ear out the other.
yeah.
If you try to ask me what you just said, I'm not gonna know because
See, I don't do that. They don't shut it off, but just you have to just.
no, I just okay.
Acknowledge and realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why in meditation, what you call the DBT, is that right? You remember that we don't. Well, that's what part we talk about. Don't taking as personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't project yourself as that object. You recognize the reason why you're angry because you mess up in the job, not because they may get mad because of you personally. Right? So, okay. So again, so there's many ways. So for me, again, there's many ways to approach it, to deal with anger. We talked about meditation. If you have that practice, meditation practice for a while, you could control, could handle that situation. So, here again, I'm considering. So, what happened if we feel that we betrayed, if we feel that we cheated by our parents? Is angry? How do you handle that?
Do the same back to them.
Really?
Wow.
How do we handle that?
Correct.
It's just remember an eye for an eye, but we blind,
Yeah,
right?
the eye.
Yeah. So anyway, so how? If we feel that we cheated, we mistreated and so forth.
I
Yes?
think the
first step is just to, again, take a step back and realize that they're humans themselves.
Yeah. It's in,
And disconnect from the fact that they're your parents. Because at least within the society we live in, the concept of being a parent is that you're supposed to be 100% all the time the cheerleader and champion for your children, which is ridiculous. Because you can't have that sort of mentality. And so I think for children to expect that of their parents is also ridiculous.
and later on, when we talk about again, when the idea of the permanent soul or the big one, ego here, if we recognize there's no real self here. There's no, okay, me, yeah, I have two names, legal names and real name, and you have nickname and so forth. So we call by this name, that name and so forth. But if we understand that, we could let go is much better, much easier. Then we attach, oh, this is real self, right? They score me, they criticize me, and so forth. But that's not the idea too. Okay? So again, so that's why we need to have, especially with the mind here, non-violent. And again, the speech is so important. And what in Vietnamese we say that the reason why you're sick, because you consume wrong food. That's the idea. And the reason why you encounter disaster because of your speech. It makes sense? Makes sense?
She's speaking into existence.
If you speak in the wrong way, wrong time, wrong person, it's your disaster. Is that right? And if you consume wrong food, you'll be sick. That's come from the mouth. So watch out for our mouth. Plus the mind. If we have the right intention, whichever we say, sometimes if we're not mindful, right? I just mentioned recently, right? When we have fun with each other and we say something, but somehow other people thought that this is offend them, right? So we have to watch out how we say, how we deal with other people. Especially you are in the leadership position. Whichever you say will affect too many people, especially like the president, right? It affects probably the whole world, right? Whichever he say. Okay, the next one, action is same thing too. Break, action.
Yeah.
Assume. How could you have what's mean by reaction? What's the difference between wrong action and reaction? Again.
So the main point of it was that right action has to do with compassion towards others, and treat others like you want to be treated yourself. And so right action, in the reading it said like 5 different precepts. It's like not killing, not stealing, not misusing sex, not lying, and not using intoxicants. So those are like the 5 main things. If you follow those and give compassion towards others, you will have right action.
What happens if you see some poisonous animals like snake and so forth into your room? We talk about that, right? How you pick them out or try to chop them off? That's the point. It's your intention too. How about Francis? You here? You want to say something? No?
What is right way of action? Mainly focuses on just refraining yourself from 3 things. Taking the life of another human being or any other creature. And from stealing or taking anything that is not given to you for free. Because if you take something from someone, it's going to hurt them and it's going to hurt your soul. And refrain from any sexual misconduct.
How about chopping up trees?
Well, that's it.
Cut tree down. What do you think? What's that? Okay.
Yeah, it has to kill it, the document.
I live in the woods, and I I have 84 acres land in Indiana. That's where I start like a center in Indiana, and I have to chop up many of them to build a temple. But in our, you can say that in our spiritual ways, before we chop up sometimes we have the big trees too. So we put the notice to let them know whether they speak or not. We let them know for at least a couple of days.
See, that makes sense to me though, because if you're okay with eating vegetables, you should be okay with chopping down a giant vegetable tree.
Not for fun. Not for fun.
No, but for purpose, like for.
But that's what I was gonna go to, is that, like, where is the line drawn as far as living and non-living, right?
Because the tree doesn't have a conscious, right?
The concept.
It has a video.
Oh, it still has a consciousness.
But that's what I'm saying, that the theory of all living things have some form of ego or consciousness or soul, whatever you want to call it. They all have that one thing. Where is the line drawn between, okay, this is what I have to do to achieve a greater good? For example, a lot of Christians believe, okay, well this chicken or this cow, whatever, was put on this planet so that I can survive, so that I can do better things. So where is the line drawn between, okay, yes, we're making a temple and there's a tree, so clearly us making a temple is for the greater good versus letting this tree live here. Where is that line drawn?
There's no there. They say this is the line still, but the point is we try to minimize the harmfulness to all the beings, whether they are living beings, whether they human beings, animal beings, or trees. Because without consuming without food and drink, we cannot survive. It's just, this one is just, we live in the, you can say, conventional world or heavy world. We need to consume something. That's why it's preferable, or we can better because we want to minimize the harms to other. You understand that? So you can say that that's the line there too, because we have no choices unless we don't need the space to live, unless we don't need the food drink to consume.
So kind of piggyback on that for a second, going back to the concept of eating animals. Like me personally, I feel like there's a difference between hunting for sport and hunting for meat and necessity. And it goes back to what you're talking about with the intention. My intention is not to go out there and kill all the deer I can kill. My intention is to kill that deer so that I can then eat, so that I can survive, so that I can do better things.
Here, when, let's say, you grow vegetables, right? You can cut off one branch or 2 branches of this and you still survive. Is that right? But when you chop off the head of chicken, you're done. You see that? You see what I'm trying to say?
Kind of, but not. I mean, but not all vegetables, right? Like if you take a carrot out of the ground, there's no more carrot left there. That is its root.
Okay, that's fine. But somehow, okay, here's the thing. When you chop off the head of a cow, a chicken, whichever, you recognize as they crying. They suffer there in front of your eyes. Is that right?
So the carrot doesn't cry, so it gets to die.
That's what we minimize. We minimize the harms. You understand that?
Let's just be logic. I mean, vegetables and animals. I mean, majority of the world will see that animals and humans hold a greater, I guess, value than a carrot.
I think that's what he's trying to say, that being a vegetarian is like the minimum you need to survive. So you just consume something the minimum. You don't need to eat animals.
Yeah.
When you chop off, when you hunt down or you shoot that deer, whichever, you see they suffer there. Yes?
When I took biology, we learned that human bodies are like evolved to eat meat or something. So like in the old days, if someone didn't eat meat, they would not have gotten like essential fatty acids and protein and stuff. now people can get away with it because there's like tofu and supplements and stuff, but like in the cave days, if people didn't eat meat, they'd probably be malnourished or something.
So it depends too, but still, now we have more choices than in the past. And plus, the way you observe how they kill, or even before they would kill, like the pig, chicken, and so forth, it's true. They don't want it to be killed. You see that suffering from your eyes there. But let's say if you still enjoy that, that's a hurt your compassion. You understand that? That's why you say, right? If you, yeah, it's easy for you to go to this market, right, to buy them, right? By their flesh. But when you hold them, the fly to kill them, there's no way for you to consume them.
So I guess my whole point was, like, isn't there some sort of, I'm speaking from my own perspective, that I try to avoid eating meat as much as physically possible. I'm almost vegetarian, mostly pescatarian. But I still feel like there's kind of some gray area, right? Like, my intention is not to eat meat, but sometimes there's sometimes where it doesn't feel like there's a way around it.
That's why you just mentioned, right, when we talk about the difference between Theravada and Mahayana traditions, the Theravada, they still consume meat, not us. So that's, of course, it's your choice too.
But they have good intention in their consuming of their meat.
And of course, some, in their traditions, especially when they have this celebration, special celebration, their lay people bring big lobster and so forth.
Right.
But for us, we cannot consume them. Anyway, so let's see. Okay, want to say something briefly, or we'll talk more next time? But give me a few more minutes. And you want to say something about reaction?
Yeah, there's 5 precepts to having right action. Don't kill, don't lie, don't commit adultery, no stealing. And the thing about those is, like, it's not an absolute commandment. It's not like if you break the rule then you're in the wrong. It's more like a guideline to follow by. Like you're saying, you should minimize. Like if you eat vegetables, some of that, you're still maybe killing a plant or whatever. But as long as minimize it's okay.
Alright. Probably next time we talk about something like, let's say, when you walk on the street, on the road, and you find some iPhone or projector on the floor. What do you do?
Turn it in.
Turn it in. Be honest, right? So, okay, anyway. Alright, thank you. So, see you next time.